Last week I got carried away by the idea of remaking all the hobgoblins, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think I've gotten bitten by some kind of homebrewing bug, because next up I want to remake all the Sahuagin. Or actually, more accurately, I just want to make more Sahuagin. I was excited by the fantasy of the idea of this thing that gets advantage once blood is in the water, and I thought, what would an elite version of that look like? And what would a support look like for something that gets frenzied by blood? Welcome to Mystic Arts, where we take the idea of homebrewing too far, and we have way too much fun doing it. My name is Daði, I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. Today, we're going to look at the Sahuagin. And this is what I came up with. 10 stat blocks ranging from CR 1/8 to CR 13, and they should provide a challenge for your party no matter what level they are, because you should be able to mix these up into encounters challenging up to maybe even 13th level characters. And you could run an entire adventure with nothing but these guys, and I think you'd have a lot of fun doing it. Well, I say nothing but these guys, you'd still have other kinds of creatures, but I mean these Sahuagin as the main bad guy of the adventure. Sahuagin? 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 We're going to start off right here in the second entry on the list with the Sahuagin Predator. The Predator is my version of the Sahuagin Warrior, and in general I made sure not to make sure any names overlapped so that you could use them interchangeably or use whichever version you like, and one isn't actively replacing the other, but just an addition. So you have more monsters to throw at your players. The Predator is our sort of baseline Sahuagin, so we're going to have a little bit of a look at it. We see the AC is 12, and just like in the monster manual, there's no explanation from where that 12 comes from, so we have to assume it's natural armor. You can see it's got 22 hit points, which is quite a lot. It's got a 40-foot swim speed, and it's got Blood Frenzy. Sahuagin has advantage on attack rolls against any creature that doesn't have all its hit points. It's got limited amphibiousness, so that you can breathe air and water, but must be submerged at least once every 4 hours to avoid suffocating outside of water. And the default Sahuagin also has a feature called Shark Telepathy, and it explains what that means, which is basically they can telepathically communicate to sharks. And I thought, this is a lot of space wasted on this one ability. I'm just going to put it here into languages and save myself the headache. On gnolls, they don't have an ability called Gnoll Telepathy that lets them control hyenas. But we all know that you're supposed to deploy hyenas with gnolls, and you're supposed to deploy sharks with Sahuagin, so I just put it there. Actions. The Sahuagin makes 2 javelin attacks. And then I list the javelin attack. +3 to hit, +1 damage, 1d6, and they can throw it. And the Sahuagin Warrior has claws here, and the reason I replaced it with a javelin is that way they can do ranged attacks. That's it. That's the entire reasoning. The damage stays the same. It just adds a 30, 120 range to their default attack. And the Predator gets something called Aquatic Charge. The Sahuagin swims up to its swim speed straight towards an enemy it can see. So as a point of fact, on land, they have a 30-foot speed. In the water, they have an 80-foot speed. So they might not need those javelins at all, but I thought it's good to have them, so they get them. You might have also noticed I gave it blind sight 10 feet. And the reason I did that is because the sharks all get blind sight 60 or 30 feet. And I thought, the Sahuagin are basically shark people. I'm going to let them have a little bit of blind sight. I didn't want to do too much. I didn't want it to be overpowering or be sort of central to their theme, because I think they already have Blood Frenzy. But I wanted to be enough to get a little bit of that shark vibe of them, not being able to be snuck up on, stuff like that. And I thought these are pretty scary. If I want to run an encounter with level 1 characters, I can't use this. It's probably, unless it's just 1 or 2 of these guys. And with a hobgoblin, I wasn't too much concerned with it because I could at least pair one hobgoblin up with some goblins. But you can't really do that with a Sahuagin, so I decided to create a weaker Sahuagin, the Sahuagin Minnow. The Minnow's got 9 hit points, it's got the same AC, it's got all the same features, except it doesn't have a javelin, it just has the claws, and it doesn't have the aquatic charge. So it's just way easier to deal with overall. With those 2 out of the way, I wanted to start playing around with it, so I created the Sahuagin Harpooner. It was either Harpooner or Harpoonist, and when stuck between a rock and a hard place, you just pick one. The AC stays the same, he gets a few more hit points, keeps limited amphibiousness, and obviously Blood Frenzy, and then he's got this key ability. He's got 2 harpoon attacks he can use. He's also got the claws if he wants. No real reason he should use them. The Harpoon has a range of 30, 120, so it's the same as Javelin, but it does piercing damage, and if the target is a medium or smaller creature, it's grappled, escape DC 11, a rope connects the target back to the Sahuagin. And then, as a bonus action, the Sahuagin pulls each creature grappled by it up to 30 feet straight towards it. So what it does is it throws these harpoons with ropes attached, and then it pulls them back so they come into melee with, ideally, the Sahuagin Predators. Or within range of them, at least, because it could throw it 120 feet with disadvantage, and then pull them within 90 feet which will be enough for the Predator to get their movement up for their, 80 feet or whatever. Then there's the Shaman. The Shaman gets the same AC and the same hit points as the Harpooner. It gets an Acidic Blast, which replaces its sort of more melee attacks just so that it has something magic-y. And we'll be using acid for the Sahuagin a lot because I like the idea of them having acidic blood, like boiling blood, because they're fiends. And it gets spellcasting. It can, on every turn, cast Entangle, Thaumaturgy, if it wanted to, or it's got twice per day, Comprehend Languages, Confusion, or Hold Person. I really like the idea of them being able to cast Comprehend Languages, being able to understand people, and they're the only ones who don't just speak Sahuagin. Bonus action, Blessing of the Sea. The Sahuagin casts Mass Healing Word. So yeah, it's a healer. It can also cast Confusion, Hold Person, and it can also do a fair chunk of damage. That's it. It's nothing terribly complicated. And remember, the reason we're doing this is because of modular design. I want you to be able to run 10 different stat blocks at the table without going insane. The hit points can vary, but the features that are called the same thing are across all the stat blocks, and the math remains relatively simple. You can see I could have made the Acidic Blast a D8 or a D12, but I decided it's 2D6 because that way it's the same as the Javelins. And when you, the DM, are picking up dice to roll, you just know that this guy does one extra die, not 2d8 instead of 1d6 or whatever. I want you to be able to keep all the rules in your head. That is the goal of this modular design that I'm trying out. Then there's the Sahuagin Sharkwrangler, and now the AC goes up to 14. I think it just stays at 14 for a bit. Same hit points as the Shaman. It's got multi-attack. It can attack with a lance or a javelin. Now the lance does a d10. I'm okay if occasionally I break from it as long as they're not all... I'm okay if I occasionally break from the modular design as long as they're not all different numbers all the time. I just have to remember the Sharkwrangler has a big lance. And bonus action, it gets cavalry, which is, I already gave that to the Hobgoblin Wolf Rider in last week's video, but here, the Sahuagin orders its mount to move up to its speed and take an action. The action can be dash, disengage, or something printed on the mount stat block. But what do they ride? Well, sharks. There are default sharks in the monster manual. You can use the reef shark, the hunter shark, or the giant shark, and the Shark Wrangler should be able to ride any one of them. And you can just pick what's appropriate for your CR. The giant shark is really cool. Obviously, these Sahuagin are perfect if you're going to run a whole campaign about them, right? They're going from CR 1/8 to CR 13, and if you're running a whole campaign all about Sahuagin, you might be running it underwater. And I cannot think of a better thing to recommend to you than Ebon Ori's Codex of the Undersea, a 5e supplement that's starting on Kickstarter today, where you'll find over 200 pages written and designed by 2 Swedes, and I think like almost all of the art is done by one of them, and it's beautiful. It's got new spells, new feats, new magic items, and even an aquatic dragonborn and Selkies as playable races. It's really cool. If you want to check them out, there's a link in the description and in the pinned comment down below. And now we get to the really fun ones. These I was just cackling making. First off, the Sahuagin Angler has got a little bulb thing on its forehead, and as a bonus action, DC 11, each creature in a 30-foot emanation originating from the Sahuagin has to make a DC 11 save, right? And then if they fail, they become charmed, and if they fail by 5 or more, they become incapacitated as they stare at the light. And then it's got an unhinged jaw attack, 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage, and 2d4 acid damage as it opens up its mouth and detaches and then bites you. The Sahuagin Bloodletter just makes a lot of sense. That's a different creature here. It's got an AC 14, it's got 100 hit points, and it's got this Toothed Spear, which does 2d12 force damage from its spectral teeth. We'll get to them in a second. But it's also got a Whirlpool of Teeth, recharge 5/6. Creatures in this whirlpool have to make a save or they take force damage and they can't regain hit points. If they succeed, they only take half the damage. Why is this important? Well, isn't it just an AoE? What's different from this from a fireball? Well, they can't regain hit points. The Bloodletter puts blood in the water. So the Sahuagin, who all have Blood Frenzy, remember, now have advantage on all their attacks because they just targeted the enemy with a Whirlpool of Teeth. Blood in the water. And then the Predators dash into action with their aquatic charge. The Harpooners start pulling them in. And now there is this kind of frenzy, right? And then the Toothmage. Toothmage is another spellcaster. It's got the same sort of basic features, a bit more hit points. It's got this Tooth Spear again, which does 2d12 damage. Where did that 2d12 come from? Well, it comes from its bonus action. Teeth of the Great Shark. Allied creatures in a 60-foot emanation originating from the Sahuagin deal an additional 2d12 force damage until the end of this Sahuagin's next turn. Meaning that the Toothmage, as an action, for free, makes all the Sahuagin deal way more damage. That's really scary. Your players are probably going to target the crap out of this thing. But until they do anything about it, all the Sahuagin are dealing more damage. And if you pair this with a Bloodletter gets everyone bleeding, the Toothmage gets everyone doing extra damage, then the Predators charge in with advantage and extra damage, and they wail on the good guys. Now that's a scary encounter. You also see it's got some spells, including Banishment, Blight, Control Weather. Cool stuff. It's also got the healing from the Shaman, and it can counterspell and shield, because at a certain point, mages just have to be able to do that. That brings us to our final two creatures. The Sahuagin Warchief gets AC 17, as it bumps up from 14. It's got a Toothed Trident, so it does more damage, more force damage, and when it hits the target has disadvantage on its next attack roll before the start of the Sahuagin's next turn. It's also got the Acidic Blast. It's got a bonus action called Bloody Strikes. When the Sahuagin is bloodied and it hits a creature with an attack, it deals an additional 3d10 acid damage. It's the acid blood again, right? So you bloody the Warchief, and now it's dealing more damage. The stakes got higher. Also, reaction, if the Sahuagin takes damage, creatures within 5 feet have to make a con save, and if they fail, they take a bunch of acid damage, and they can't regain hit points at the start of the Sahuagin's next turn. So much like the Bloodletter, the Warchief is putting more blood in the water, getting everybody up in a frenzy. And I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. The part of the modular design is one thing I'm talking about, where you can keep all these numbers in your head more easily, but also I want these monsters to play together. We did a video a while back talking about how to min-max for DMs, how you can take monsters and make them all bounce off each other. I think that's really cool, and you could do that with homebrew monsters so easily. You just build these little connections in. And now, the Sahuagin Warchief is getting the Sahuagin Predators to be more powerful. The Sahuagin Toothmage is getting everybody else to deal more damage. The Whirlpool of Teeth from the Sahuagin Bloodletter, getting everybody to deal more damage, have advantage, crit more. And now you're creating this sort of synergy between all of these creatures where they're playing together. And the players start to notice the monsters are really good. They know what they're doing. They've got strategies and tactics. Finally, there is the Sahuagin Sacrosanct. And at this point, we're talking about a fiend, like a really powerful fiend, because that's what the Sahuagin are. The Sacrosanct has 3 legendary resistances, magic resistance, regeneration. It's got the Blood Frenzy and limited amphibiousness. It's still got, all those sort of basic Sahuagin features. It's got the Toothed Trident, same as the Warchief, but it can also spew blood in a 60-foot long line, dealing acid damage. It has got a bloodthirsty bite, where it bites creatures and grapples and restrains them. And it's got legendary actions. Obviously, it can attack. It can swim, because the Predators can swim as a bonus action. This one can swim as a legendary action. And it's got a once per round legendary action called Drown. Con save DC 18, 1 creature the Sahuagin can see within 5 feet. Failure. The target is cursed and begins suffocating for the next minute. At the end of each of its turn, the target repeats the save, ending the effect on a success. The target stops drowning if the Sacrosanct is incapacitated or killed. It fills your lungs with water, and you begin to drown. You begin to accumulate levels of exhaustion. Killing the Sacrosanct would help, but this bad boy's got 276 hit points. All of these things pile on to create an incredibly scary encounter, where everything's playing together, everything's bouncing off each other, and then obviously you've still got legendary monsters. You could run Sahuagin for an entire adventure with these stat blocks. Not to mention if you start pairing in other ocean creatures. Koatoa, Koalinth, Marrow, Krakens. You just keep going. I had a lot of fun designing these. And that's it for now. If you want these stat blocks, obviously they've been on screen the whole time. You could screenshot them or write them down or whatever you want. But if you want them writable and you want me to take the screenshots and you want to be able to edit them in Obsidian, go check out our Patreon, because Mystic Adepts get access to all of this for their subscription. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend, and if you're feeling especially generous, you could like the video, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.